this little white guy. And he's Randy Hansen. And I had no idea.
Listen up, Spuds. Welcome to Devolutionary Times. Devolutionary Times. Devolutionary Times. Devolutionary Times.
De-evolution, self-execution, no solution. I'm a potato. I got eyes all around.
We need eyes all around as this world falls apart faster and faster. We have to see what's coming and going and what's sneaking up on us from behind. De-evolutionary Times. It's not too late to whip it good.
I like to shoot 'em all.
Hello there, Spuds and Spuddices. Welcome to episode 7. Episode 7 has to do with the album Shout. Well, Shout was supposed to be a new beginning for DEVO because there had been failures by the label to bring the last 2 records to market. Like, we had incidents with New Traditionalists where we were out for 3 weeks on tour and they had screwed up and there were no albums in the stores. So their rack jobbers and their distribution had dropped the ball and they were sitting in a warehouse. So we'd go to these towns to promote the new record and do the tour, and there was nothing to buy. And so Elliot Roberts and Bill Gerber, who were our co-manager, sat down with Warner's because we still had 2 records left with them, and said that something had to change or DEVO just wasn't going to deliver these 2 records. So Warner's came back and said, okay, we'll start a new record deal. It'll be a 3-album deal, and this will be the first album of the 3, and we're going to give you more money so that you can really shine. So they gave us, what was considered a big hunk of money then. And DEVO started working with a Fairlight, the famous Fairlight.
It was a large computer that looked like it was a Soviet invention with a screen, an early computer screen on it. And it would sequence and play back and record short samples. And so it kind of sounded like what Formica wood paneling is to real wood on the wall. It kind of sounded like that. And I don't know, everybody liked that sound at the time, There was a lot of bands that were using it, Yes, and Genesis. And so always moving forward, we got into the Fairlight.
It was just a tedious process on that with the Fairlight, with what I felt was really questionable results. And it was a lot of work. And what were the little floppy disks, right?
Yeah, there were floppy disks that were like 7-inch.
And Mark would just label them like EXP, experiment, right? Experiment. And when I got up to experiment 123 and wasn't sounding like anything great, or I didn't hear anything that could be a great song, I was getting pretty depressed. We trudged on and we let this thing be the end-all be-all of our aesthetic on this record. And we delivered the record to this label and they were appalled. I mean, they hated every song. They hated what they were hearing, the sound of it. The video commissioner, because they had high hopes for DEVO and video at that point, the video commissioner, Jeff Aroff, he called me up and said, listen, some of the coolest thing you guys ever did were like strange covers, like all the way back to Satisfaction, where you reinvented the song so that everybody could see what you were about. And that had all been said many times. I go, yeah. And he goes, isn't there any song you could come back with? We don't want to put this out right now. Is there a song you could add that's a cover that we could put on this record and take another one off of?
Right. Ironically, since they were the ones who had pulled working in a coal mine off of one of our earlier albums. We talked about Elvis Presley and we talked about Hendrix, and then I don't know.
Jeff Aroff loved Hendrix, and I always thought DEVO should do Are You Experienced, which I thought would be funny. And I love the recording of Are You Experienced. I really do. I think it's got a real unique just sound envelope in it, and it works as a cover. Once they accepted that and put it on the record, we were then given the marching orders to make a video. There's so much going on in this video, and it's so hilarious. DEVO's going back in time here to an alternate 60s, clearly. So we wanted to time travel backwards, and the peace symbol gets us there. And so what happens is, Mark gets transformed. You saw that he goes through the green slime spewed by the talisman, which is the peace symbol. And, he's on his elite motorcycle from the 80s, and he gets transported back in time.
Yeah, this could have been a Roger Corman film in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of
a short one.
It's I like the B movie junk aspect. Yeah, I mean, we had inflatable suits made here, and in Mark's case, being puppeted off stage by pneumatic tubes so that he could do his hubba hubba move. Kind of like a sexy Roger Gwynn, right? And why is Mark inflating when he's in the laboratory with the rest of DEVO, trying to figure out what happened to him? Well, we don't know. That's the problem. We're shocked. And he floats up and totally into the past, and now there's DEVO performing the song.
And we're all just levitated.
Yeah, we're floating in front of the Joshua Light Show as it was done at the Fillmore West in the 60s, because we found the people through our management, Elliot Roberts, who actually did that. They were still alive. Their stuff was all in a barn in Santa Cruz. So we hired them, we paid them to come down, and he said, just do what you did then. Mm-hmm. With the multiple viscosity inks and oils, with the big clear clock face glass and overhead projection onto the wall behind us. So they're doing that, and then we always had the idea that Jimi Hendrix was going to come back to life, and there was a guy in Seattle that all the newspapers and magazines wrote these effusive things about, that he was this Jimi Hendrix impersonator, Randy Hansen, and that everybody loved his act when they come to see him. We saw pictures of him as Jimi Hendrix and said, okay, he's the guy that's going to be in the coffin and come to life. He's Jimi Hendrix. And I went to pick him up at LAX, and I'm waiting for him to come off this plane, and I keep waiting, and everybody's come off the plane, and nobody looks like Jimi Hendrix. And I'm standing there, and then finally this guy's got, he gets me in his view, like, okay, you. And I'm like, what? And it's this little white guy, and he's Randy Hansen. And I had no idea. Everything he did was complete makeup. He had the wig, he had rubber rings he stuck in his nose. This was politically incorrect. Even then, I'm like, oh shit, he's a white guy. And now it's too late. It's like, I got to drive him to the stage. We paid him a lot of money. And he goes in the dressing room. He takes about an hour and a half, and he comes out totally Jimi Hendrix. I mean, it was frightening. It's like we're like, okay, we got to go through with this.
Jimi Hendrix, actually, at the beginning of this song, Warner Brothers gave us a rehearsal tape of Hendrix. They said, hey, sample it, because it was in the days when sampling was first happening and nobody even thought about ownership or any of that. And we did sample him going, hey,
Yeah, in the beginning.
in the very beginning.
Hey! And see, I love the sounds on this. This is where the Fairlight came through. The album should have been more like this. Those sounds, they're bizarrely good. You know, it's like, I don't think you could have got those sounds another way except a Fairlight. But it's mixed with great distortion and guitar. It's got all the kind of life and action that the other songs I feel didn't. They were too sterile, too static. But this just sounds wonderful to me. And then of course you got Bob Mothersbaugh's daughter and Timothy Leary's son watching this whole thing on a Stratolounger, a vinyl Stratolounger. And they're watching that whole thing until we finally fly out of the screen that they're watching and smash against the back wall. Now, we also hired a girl who had been, you know, on our radar because she'd been writing to us, who worked at some, I think, MIT in Massachusetts.
Right.
I can't remember her name.
It wasn't Christina?
What's that?
It wasn't Christina, right?
No. This is the girl that came to us and said, look what I can do. We're doing morphing.
Right. She
We're
was doing the morphine, yeah, that Michael Jackson used first.
Yeah. So morphing was brand new. So in the end, all of our heads morph.
Into the big-eyed, keen girl.
Yeah, morphing was,
Was
a big deal. We were, it captured our imaginations.
So those kids, that's Tim Leary's son, Zach, and that's Bob's oldest daughter, Alex.
Right.
Who had been in other DEVO videos.
And they're on the
even
cover.
Younger.
They're on the cover of Shout.
Yeah.
So we put them in the video. And this was our only opportunity to do a video. Jeff Aroff loved this video. He said, this is great, but no bueno for MTV. It wasn't charting on the top 40 Billboard FM chart. That's my guess. It's a great cover. It almost justifies the whole Shout album to me. And I love the sound of this. How did you get that the backwards guitar sound? Did you guys actually do that?
Yeah.
I don't remember actually doing it. You did?
I think Mark played it
backwards.
That was it?
Yeah.
But it was his guitar.
No, I think it was a synth.
It was a synth.
I think so.
Okay. But this was all composed in the Fairlight.
No. We used, I think it was a JP8. We did it on a Roland Jupiter.
Oh, so I've been giving the Fairlight credit for finally sounding good.
Well, it was the, it was the ectoskeleton for everything.
It was the drum track.
The drum track, that was probably Alan, wasn't it? It's all electronic sounding.
Yeah.
And that was probably Alan.
Are you experienced? Matthew Hipchin. Is Mark's outfit in Are You Experienced supposed to look like Roger McGuinn of the Byrds? Yeah.
Well, kind of, yeah. If you could imagine Roger wearing bell tops instead of bell bottoms, yeah, that would.
And a little hubba in the shoulders.
Yeah,
and
a little
hips.
hubba.
and no leather jacket with fringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Cameron Kilbride.
Kilbride.
See all these good names. I think these people just got chosen for all their names. What do you believe the toxic green mist and Are You Experienced represented?
Well, I think we kind of addressed that. That's blowing in the wind from the past. You know,
It's the stench of the 60s.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, that doesn't mean it's bad. I have some fond memories of some of the 60s.
Gary J. Lewis asked, what was the inspiration behind the Are You Experienced music video?
Okay. Well, it was DEVO going back in time and reanimating Jimi Hendrix so he could play on stage with us.
Yeah, that was Not many people got to have him on stage, and even say one word in your song. Hardly anybody got that. I don't think anybody did. But it was, to me, I still think of it as a compact Roger Corman film. Maybe DEVO should have done a 90-minute version of it.
All right. Well, I think that concludes the questions for Are You Experienced?
Whew.
Yeah. It was the beginning of the end with our association with Warner Brothers label, because Shout was the exact wrong album at the exact wrong time, and was not a way to initiate a new era for DEVO and a new 3-album deal. And music in general was leaving DEVO in a fork in the road, like what was popular, what was being played on the radio. We were now further diverging from that. And Warner's just said, that 3-album deal, you can forget it. And Elliot Roberts told us, look, just take the severance money and don't try to fight this. It'll go on forever. We'll get you another deal, another label. And now that's the story you'll hear in episode 8.